Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 1076. Dorian's Request. Outside room 2016 at the Hat Trick Inn on Sherwood Burrows 22 Hope Street. Furs directly walked through the wall without drawing anyone's attention. Then, she knocked on the door in a rhythm that was previously agreed upon. Not long after, Dorian Gray Abraham, who was dressed in black, with his broad shoulders and thick arms, unlocked the door and turned the doorknob. The gentleman quickly sized up the area and made way for Furs to enter the room. "I really didn't expect you to become a scribe so soon." After closing the door, Dorian carefully examined the door's lock before turning around and sighing. Based on the standards of this era, he was considered a middle-aged man, but he was still a Sequence 7 astrologer. He had no hope of advancing. Yet, his student, Furs Wall, took about a year to go from Sequence 9 to Sequence 6. This comparison between the two made Dorian feel poignant and sad. The Abraham family's bloodline should have been noble and enviable, but now, it was a heavy curse that made him depressed. "It's because you taught me well." Although Furs didn't like going out and enjoyed staying at home, she would still be invited by the nobles from time to time. She was a best-selling author who participated in high society's literary salons, so she wasn't clueless as to how to speak. Furthermore, she had indeed obtained quite a bit of help from her teacher, from providing knowledge and money to formulas and ingredients. Dorian looked at her and shook his head with a smile. "It's not like you're my only student. As far as I remember, this advancement speed can only be matched by one person." He paused and continued, "Next up, your target is Sequence 5 Traveler. And I have even higher expectations for you. I hope that you can obtain godhood and become a Sequence 4 Secrets sorcerer. Of course, I also have a request. When you truly become a demigod, try to pray to a hidden existence and listen to his answer to figure out what he is talking about. This is indeed a bit dangerous, but a Sequence 4 demigod would have sufficient power to withstand it. Without any other elements at play, there shouldn't be any problems. Teacher, is this answer important to you?" Although Furs knew what was going on, she still acted curious and puzzled. Dorian fell silent for a few seconds before sighing. "It's very important. My parents, my brothers, my sisters, my children, too many people have sacrificed their lives in pursuit of this answer, but to no avail. Don't worry. We paid such a huge price because there's an ancient curse on our family's bloodline, and you aren't related to us by blood. I don't expect to find a way to break the curse through that answer during my generation. However, I hope to know where it originates from and understand the cause of my death." Upon saying this, Dorian took a deep breath and didn't continue. For some reason, Furs could feel the weight of time that had accumulated over 1,000 years, generation after generation, bearing down on her shoulders. She really couldn't imagine how painful it would be for a person's ancestors, parents, brothers, sisters, and children to directly or indirectly die from the same curse. Thinking of how well her teacher had been taking care of her, Furs, who had only received this type of care from her elders, opened her eyes, lowered her head, and nodded. "I'll try my best." Dorian held back his feelings and nodded slightly. "The most praiseworthy trait of yours is your kindness." Furs felt a little embarrassed as she turned to talk about a phrase the teacher had mentioned. Family? She remembered that her teacher had never told her about the Abraham family. He had claimed that he, Lawrence, and Elisa were members of a secret organization. In order to differentiate between matters which her teacher had told her and what she had learned at the Tarot Club, Furs had done a serious list of what she should know before she left home, to prevent herself from accidentally revealing information she shouldn't have. Dorian answered simply, "In order to solve the curse, everyone in my family joined that organization." He immediately changed the subject. "Why did you move out in a hurry this time?" "I was targeted by official Beyonders." Furs first said a half-truth before complaining a little about the mailman. Dorian didn't say anything else as he stepped away from Furs and set up a ritual. He summoned the music-loving void creature, Malmouth, and he made it spit out 3 items. One was a transparent, nearly illusory crystal, and the second item was a piece of ancient goatskin parchment. The third was a small hunter's backpack. This is a Beyonder characteristic left behind by a traveler. With it, you don't need to gather any additional main ingredients. This is the Traveler Potion formula. This backpack contains the corresponding supplementary ingredients. If you don't have a good way to preserve them, try your best to finish digesting the scribe potion within half a year. Otherwise, their spirituality will be completely lost. Dorian handed everything over to Furs. Thank you, teacher, Furs said sincerely. Then, she unfurled the goatskin and quickly skimmed through the potion formula before placing her focus on the ritual. Set up special coordinates in 4 completely different spots deep in the spirit world, which are all set up extremely far away from each other. The goal of this ritual is? Furs thought for a few seconds and asked her teacher. After consuming the Traveler Potion, you will wander the spirit world chaotically. When you grasp some degree of initial level over your powers, you will realize that you have lost your way. At that moment, you can use the 4 special coordinates to return to the real world. Otherwise, you will be trapped in the depths of the spirit world for a long time. Not only is it dangerous inside, but it will also assimilate you, making you lose your mind and become a living creature that is attached to the spirit world. Although Dorian had no hope of becoming a traveler, he had seen students advancing to Sequence 5 before. Then there should be another alternative. Furs muttered in thought. Yes. Dorian nodded and said, previously, there was something in the organization that could allow people to instantly return to the real world from the spirit world. Unfortunately, it was lost. Without waiting for Furs to ask, Dorian said, if you really become a demigod and fulfill my wish, I'll hand over an important item that I'm in charge of to you. This is an expectation your teacher has for you. One of the powerful sealed artifacts of the Abraham family? Furs had a vague guess, but she didn't dare promise anything. She said the same thing. I'll try my best. Following that, she asked curiously, Teacher, you mentioned that Sequence 4 is a secret sorcerer. What about Sequence 3, 2, and Sequence 1? Dorian immediately laughed. You're only a Sequence 6. Yes, Sequence 3's name is Wanderer. Sequence 2 is Planeswalker, and the Sequence 1 potion name is Key of Stars. Heh, it's a good thing that you mentioned this. I actually forgot to organize a list of things to take note of in the spirit world. These are things that must be remembered after becoming a traveler. In that case, I'll stay for another night. You can visit me tomorrow for the documents. As Furs ruminated over the names of the high sequence potions of the apprentice pathway, she agreed. All right, teacher. After settling these matters, Dorian paced back and forth and thought for a moment before instructing. The Beyonder characteristics of the same pathway have a certain attraction towards each other. It's not obvious when one's at a low sequence, but the higher the sequence, the stronger it becomes. Sometimes, this kind of attraction isn't something you can directly feel, while also making you unknowingly approach a high sequence Beyonder of the same pathway. When you become a traveler, you have to pay attention to this matter. At this point, Dorian paused and said, Not many demigods of the apprentice pathway are still alive. Among them, you need to be extra careful of a man named Bodis. He is the Saint of Secrets from the Aurora Order, and just like Lewis, he's a traitor of our organization. I will give you his portrait tomorrow. Bodis. Furs repeated the name her teacher had mentioned in her mind. At the same time, she had a new understanding about the Aurora Order Oracle, Louis Veen, over the previous chance encounter. Perhaps it wasn't a chance encounter, but the attraction force between Beyonder characteristics. Teacher had a sufficiently powerful sealed artifact from the apprentice pathway on him. Furs quickly suppressed this thought and began asking for advice on how to act as a scribe. In the Berg household in the City of Silver, there's actually a path that can bypass the front of the Giant King's court and enter the interior from the Waning Forest and Barren Tunnel. Derek Berg recalled the information he had been shared by Mr. World above the gray fog. This was very important to the City of Silver, as the early-stage explorations after the afternoon town camp had set off implied that the closer they were to the Giant King's court, the stronger the monsters that originated from the darkness were. I have to tell the chief. Derek abruptly stood up and rushed out of his house, heading straight for the spire. As he wished, he saw the chief of the 6-member council, Colin Iliad. He followed Mr. Hangman's instructions and said that he had recalled some murals he had seen in the afternoon town's shadow. On it was a secret passage that led into the giant king's court. Colin Iliad listened quietly without interrupting Derek's narration. Finally, he nodded gently and said, "Good, you did well. What do you want to exchange for this contribution?" "A mature mind dragon's complete brain." Derek was prepared. Colin didn't ask why as he thought for a moment and said, "If that secret passage is real, then the value will definitely exceed the complete brain of an adult mind dragon." You can pick something else. Are you interested in the potion formula for a relatively higher sequence of the plantar pathway? This is a question from Mr. Fool. While Derek was enlightened, he said in surprise, "Do we have a relatively higher sequence potion formula for the plantar pathway?" He had no recollection of it. "Of course. You should remember that the giant king's queen is the goddess of harvest, but the surrounding areas lack the corresponding beyonder ingredients. There's no rush. You can think about it again." Colin Iliad calmly changed the subject. "Are you skilled with your Priest of Light powers?" "Yes," Derek replied succinctly. Colin was silent for a moment as he looked at the adolescent child before him and said, "What kind of saint-level sealed artifact do you want to choose?"